So thank you again, everyone, for joining this presentation, this webinar. So this will be a very general look at applying to medicine and dentistry at a UK university, and again, how to have a strong application. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start really from the start and looking at why you might want to study medicine and dentistry. And this seems like a really strange thing to bring up in a webinar, but it's really important that you have the right reasons for studying medicine and dentistry. And this will be important both for the personal statement or statement of purpose that you submit to a university, but also for the interview that you will probably have when you apply for a university for medicine and dentistry. And this is a question you should really be asking yourself the whole process. So why do you want to become a doctor? Why do you want to become a dentist? This is a question that comes up so often in interviews. It's a question that might be asked throughout that process. So in your mind now, whatever stage you are at in applying for medicine or dentistry, please keep asking yourself, why do you want to study medicine? Why do you want to study dentistry? So is it the practical application of science? Are you currently doing biology at school? Are you currently doing chemistry at school? And you're really enjoying it, but you're really looking forward to a much more practical aspect of applying that knowledge into the real world. And that really is what medicine and dentistry is. Is it the opportunity to help people? There are probably no better professions in the world alongside nursing where you really are going to make a difference to people's lives. So great professions to go into for this. Is it the reward? So is it the personal reward? Is it the financial reward? These are reasons you can go into medicine and dentistry. I would please encourage you not to say in an interview that you are in this for financial reward, but you can get a very good salary at the end of medicine or dentistry. The professional job structure is there. So there is obviously quite a direct avenue into whatever pathway of medicine and dentistry you want to go to. And some people really like having that clear path of where you'd like to end up. So is it going to be orthodontics? Is it going to be pediatrics? So there's a really clear path in terms of what you will need to do to get into those areas. Or is it the academic challenge? So you might be sitting here and you might be thinking that school is far too easy. You are getting 90% plus perhaps in your diploma and you think, I just need a bigger academic challenge. Medicine and dentistry is certainly going to bring that. And one of the reasons for this is because it is a very clinical course. So whatever you decide to, whichever university you decide to study at, it's likely you're going to have quite a practical application of clinical work alongside your studies. And it can be difficult at times to balance those. So there's different types of courses that are going to be available for you when you look at United Kingdom universities. So you might see traditional courses. So most of these will really apply for medicine. Dentistry tends to follow very similar pathways, no matter which university you go to. However, you might find that some will introduce clinical work a bit earlier than others. But certainly for medicine, there's going to be 3 different types of medical schools you might be looking at. So the first one is going to be traditional. This tends to be more like your University of Oxford, University of Cambridge type of medicine courses. Traditional is more lecture and seminar based, particularly in your first 3 years. So in a traditional course, it is unlikely you're going to have any clinical experience, and that will be contained within your last 2 or 3 years, depending on that course. Otherwise, if you really want clinical experience a little bit earlier, then it's going to be problem-based learning or integrated you're looking at. So problem-based learning, that is going to be not so much clinical work, but clinical-based problems in a classroom. So there will be clinical problems you'll need to solve either by yourself or in a group, but it is not going to be patient contact. Integrated is a combination of everything. So it's a combination of the lectures, it's going to be a combination of small problem-based learning, and also a combination of clinical work in a hospital or a dental clinic as well. So integrated is what we are at the University of Dundee. Within your first couple of months, you will have patient contact, and patient contact and clinical work is reinforced through the full 5 years of your course. Some people prefer getting that background of information and knowledge in the traditional course before going into clinical. If you would like to go straight into clinical work, then do look at the most appropriate courses for you when you look at UK universities. Some universities will also offer the option of intercalated year. So in Dundee's medicine and dentistry degrees, you'll find there's a chance to study a 1-year master's in the middle of your course. So your degree will then become 6 years long, but you will graduate as either a doctor or a dentist, but also with a supplementary master's degree. So for example, in Dundee, if you're going to study medicine, you could take 1 year out in the middle and study forensic medicine for a year, and then continue with your medicine degree. So if you're looking to go into pathology or anything like this, then this is a really great avenue that you can take when you come into our course. And lots of different universities in the UK may offer this intercalated year. Some will be optional, such as Dundee. Some may be compulsory, such as the University of Edinburgh, also in Scotland. And that is why they have a 6-year course. So these are some of the ways that you can choose a medical or dental school when you're looking to come to the UK. In fact, there are ways you can choose a medical and dental school, no matter where you look to study these subjects. So do have a look at the learning and teaching styles. Like I say, how do you want to be taught? Do you want clinical work? Do you want problem-based learning? Look at the reputation. So do you want to go to a very reputable dental or medical school? This can be very important to some people. Look at the facilities. So in Dundee, we're very lucky. Again, you can tell I'm doing some shameless promotion for medicine. Our whole medical school is in the hospital in Dundee, and it's one of Europe's largest teaching hospitals. So it's a great place to learn clinical medicine. In Dundee, our dental school is located on our campus, and we have a whole suite full of these robot heads, which you can see in the picture there, and these are called phantom heads. So a lot of the clinical work you do, as well as with patients, is going to be on these phantom heads. And what we do with a lot of these is we will take a mold of patients' teeth when they come into our dental school. We will take the mold and we will stick them into these heads. And that means that you are really doing real life problems. But obviously the bonus is in your first couple of months, if you do drill through a cheek, it's just a robot and it's not a real person. So that's the facility side. Do have a look at the placement options. If you want in your career to work in a very big city, then Dundee is not a massive city. We only have around 150,000 people. So you're not going to get this really, really big urban experience in Dundee. Whereas if you go to learn in somewhere like Queen Mary's London, you're going to get that really big city experience. So I do have a think about what placement options do you want available to you. Think about the intercalated year. But I would say, particularly if you are looking to study internationally, is think about the wider university, think about the location of the university, and do your research. Moving internationally is a big choice. It's a costly choice as well at times, although studying medicine or dentistry, regardless of where you go, is going to be quite a costly choice. So make sure that you're going to have an enjoyable experience. And that is the most important thing and the most important advice I can give you, is make sure that you enjoy yourself. Because when you're studying a difficult course, it's just imperative that you enjoy yourself during those 5 or 6 years of that course. So in terms of the admission side, now, when I speak about admissions, this is a bit more specific to Dundee, because in my role, I can only speak specifically about Dundee. I'm really not allowed to speak about other university admissions or anything. But really, this will give you an idea of what it's like applying for a university in the UK. They are competitive programs. So to give you an example, medicine at the University of Dundee in 2019, we had around 1,750 applications for 167 places. And that equates to approximately 10.5 applications per place. Now, you may or you may not know that medicine and dentistry at UK universities can be capped for international students, and that is the same here in Dundee. So although we have 167 places, 13 of those places are for international students. So that is a cap set by the government, unfortunately. However, because of obviously the amount of applications we'll receive internationally, it doesn't go too much above the 10 applications per place. So the ratio of applications to places is maybe slightly higher. I'd say maybe you're looking at 13 to 14 applications per place as an international student, but not wildly different when you do hear that number that we have for international students. Only 4 of your 5 UCAS choices can be for medicine or dentistry. Now, when you apply for medicine or dentistry, you'll need to go through UCAS. Please feel free to ask any questions in the Q&A about UCAS. If you're not sure what UCAS is, please feel free to ask those questions and I can answer them either at the end, or if I do see them come in, I can answer them during the presentation. So I do have quite an extensive knowledge of UCAS as well, which I can hopefully help you with. Chemistry and or biology is normally needed, not A-level, but is normally needed within your studies, regardless of which university you choose to study at. Do check individual university requirements. So I'll speak about the UCAT test. Some may require the BMAT test. So we use the UCAT test, but places like the University of Leeds, Oxford, Cambridge, they will look for the BMAT test. That is a separate entry test to the UCAT. So you'll normally set one or the other. or if you're applying for both UCAT and BMAT universities, you'll find that you will need to set both tests, as universities will only accept one of those tests. Do find out what stage things like the personal statement is used, and do have a look at how they interview as well. And again, these are things I can run through in this presentation as well. So like I say, the University of Dundee uses the UCAT test. So the UCAT test is the most widely used test. This is used by 26 universities. The UCAT test is an external test. So this is not something that is formed as part of your school studies. This is something you will sit outside of school. So I had a quick look earlier and I saw there was 4 centres in Toronto alone that you could sit the UCAT test. I believe there's one in Hamilton. There's ones all over Canada. So there is places for you to sit this UCAT test. If anyone has ever done a driving theory test, very similar in the way you just kind of sit in front of a computer and you'll go through different stages. So you can register for the UCAT test as of the 2nd of June. So if you're looking to apply to start in 2022, so hopefully you know that it's now too late for 2021. For anyone looking at medicine and dentistry, you're now looking at 2022 entry. The reason for that is the deadline for this is on the 15th of October. So it is quite a long way before you actually start. So for looking at 2022 entry, you can register for the UCAT test as of the 2nd of June, and you can set that as of the 26th of July, and the last test date will be on the 29th of September. So you do need to be organised. So for those obviously watching this or attending as of now, it really is great that you are thinking this early about medicine and dentistry, because this is absolutely the time you need to be looking at this sort of information when you apply for medicine and dentistry. There's a cost for the UCAT test, and this is £120. My conversion is not good enough to put that into Canadian dollars, so use a quick currency converter there. I believe my guess would be wildly off. The UCAT test is 2 hours long. It has 5 separately timed subtests, so verbal reasoning, quantitative reasoning, abstract reasoning, decision making, and situational judgment. Now, the first 4 are what most universities will tend to make their offer on. The situational judgment, you're given a band. So, for example, in Dundee, we will give, we don't have a cutoff. So you'll have a score of something over of up to, I think, 3,200, 3,500. Please double check that. It's kind of accepted that a good score will be anything over 2,300. To give you an example, in Dundee, our average UCAT score was 2,750. They gained entrance in 2020. So that should give you a rough idea of kind of what we're looking for. In Dundee, we do not take into account situational judgment. However, if you do achieve a band 4, which is the lowest band, that will impact your application negatively. So we do take into account, but only if you score the lowest bands, because obviously if you have bad situational judgment, there is obviously concerns there in becoming a doctor or a dentist. So what makes a good application? This is a very broad view at how to make a good application, and most of it's very obvious. A high academic score is one of the most important things that a university will look for. A strong motivation and commitment. So again, keep asking that question. Why do you want to do medicine? Why do you want to do dentistry? Look at regular and recent work experience. Now, we totally realise the difficulties you will have at the moment, particularly obviously with the lockdown in Ontario at the moment. We realise that cases are rising, things are shutting down again. We would prefer relevant work experience, of course, and this can be done in a virtual environment. So there's loads of great virtual work experience that you can undertake. So don't think because of this that it's not worth looking at all for work experience. There is still virtual work opportunities that you can take. But as an example, last year, for applicants that applied in 2021 in Dundee, we were able to consider other types of experience. So as long as you were able to make that relevant to medicine or dentistry, then you were able to use that. So for example, if you're working part-time in Starbucks, as long as you're taking the skills from that, so think about your communication skills, think about your manual dexterity skills, think about your concentration skills, think about your public-facing skills. Why are those relevant for studying medicine and dentistry? Why are those relevant for being a doctor or a dentist? So as long as you make those skills relevant, then that can count as relevant work experience. But for most universities, they will be looking for relevant work experience in a clinical environment. So whether that is virtual or whether that is going to be in person, if there is an opportunity to do that in the summer. Obviously, at the moment, that's looking quite unlikely. A knowledge of the healthcare system in the UK, if you're applying for a UK university, will be important that you have a knowledge of the healthcare system. You will hopefully heard of the National Health Service. There is often questions about issues in the National Health Service. There are things like the junior doctor strike that happened 3 years ago. There's obviously the vaccine that is being taking place in many general practice surgeries and centres around the UK. These are things that could be asked in your interview. So because you're an international student does not exempt you from these questions, you will still be expected to have a knowledge of the healthcare system in the UK. And have a think again about these soft skills that you may have. So teamwork and communication skills. These are all skills that are going to be vitally important for you in studying medicine or dentistry. So I've already spoken about work experience, so just purely listing your work experience isn't enough. It is very important that you look at part-time, you make these relevant. So like I say, think about the soft skills, think about what are you doing within those work experience, what role do you have? If you're in a care home, what role do you have within that care home? Why is that going to make you a good doctor? Why is that going to make you a good dentist? So in your mind, again, you're always using these links. Why is that going to make you a good doctor? Why is that going to make you a good dentist? Please keep asking yourself that question. This will be extremely important for your personal statement. So when you write a personal statement within your UCAS application, this will be up to 4,000 characters long. So it's not a lot of room for you to describe why you're an amazing person and why you're going to be a great doctor or a dentist. So think about how you're going to make this come across well in such a sort of short period. I just see a question there. It will absolutely be okay to email me with questions, and it is being recorded. So if you are having any difficulty with your audio, as I say, if I'm speaking quite fast, there will be an opportunity to watch this once it's finished. Probably within the next few days, we'll be able to get that across to you. Perfect. So like I said, please do have a think about the type of interview. Now, please don't base your university choice based on what type of interview you think you might do well in. I'm sure you will be fantastic in any type of interview, but there's different types of interviews you may come across. So one-to-one, panel, so you'll be sitting maybe across from 3 people. It could be a group interview. That doesn't tend to get used as much for medicine or dentistry. And the last one is MMI. So this is multiple mini interview. This is probably the most common type of interview, I would say, for medicine and dentistry at the moment. And this is something that has been translated quite well into the virtual world as well. So previously in Dundee, we would have asked all applicants to Dundee to undertake an interview, even if you're international. However, this year, we were able to do that virtually. So it's really hoped that actually this has been a great thing for us because it's helped us translate that into the virtual world and will hopefully make it a lot easier for our international applicants to sit the interview. So the MMI with ourselves would be 6 different scenarios. So one of them may be ethical reasoning. So it may be an ethical dilemma. One of them may be, why do you want to be a doctor? Why do you want to be a dentist? One of them may be a situation. So we may have a student ambassador sitting across from you in a Zoom call like this, and maybe be giving a situation, maybe describing symptoms of a heart attack, and you have to reassure them. So there's a lot of different scenarios that you can take. And normally these will be maybe 6 to 10 different stations you will have. So that's what a multiple mini interview is. It's 6 to 10 small interviews within one interview. Interview times tend to be December to February. And you do have to attend the interview, obviously, to continue with the admissions process. The reason we interview for medicine and dentistry is because these are such personable courses. It is so important that you have a personality to do medicine or dentistry. Hopefully you'll know from maybe going to the doctor yourself, from going to the dentist yourself, you do not want a robot that is speaking to you and just listing off things that might be wrong or telling you bad news. You want someone that is going to be empathetic with you, and that is something that we will look for when you apply for the medical or dental school, for example, at the University of Dundee. So now really is the very much shameless self-promotion part. of Dundee. So like I say, please continue to ask any questions, either using the chat or the Q&A. So whether it's Dundee specific or whether it's to do with the application process, as I say, please do make use of this time if you think it would be useful. So obviously I'm from the University of Dundee myself. We do rank very highly for both medicine and dentistry. We're very lucky here. Part of that, like I say, is because of the medical school we have and because of our dental school that is located on our campus. So we're number 1 in the UK for medicine and number 3rd in the UK for dentistry. We have integrated degrees, like I say, at Ninewells Hospital and the dental school in Dundee. And we have what is a system-based curriculum. And we have something called a 4D curriculum, or otherwise a spiral curriculum. So the way it's been described to me is that you will never sit an exam for something in your 3rd, 4th, 5th year that you have learned in 1st or 2nd year. And that's why it's a spiral curriculum. So if you can imagine a spiral, you're learning small components of things throughout your 5 years. So there's 5 spirals here, and you're learning components throughout your full 5 years. So you never sit an exam for something that you've maybe sat, right at the bottom of the spiral, because you're always learning going up throughout that. I hope that made sense, but it really is quite beneficial. It does mean, like I say, you're not having to dig out books from 4 years ago for your 4th or your 5th year exams. And we do have fantastic facilities. So not only do we have our medical school and our dental school, we also have our anatomy lab. So we have a morgue on our campus. We have a fantastic forensic anthropology school as well. So for those that are looking at cadavers, and we use these cadavers within both our medical school and our dental school training. So for medicine, it's full body human dissection that you have to understand the anatomy. Again, it's a really practical learning that we have in Dundee. For dentistry, it tends to be dissection from around the shoulder upwards. Again, just understand the anatomy of the face. It's not sitting on a Zoom call like this and someone telling you all about the anatomy. You're in the morgue and you're learning that in a very hands-on way. And we're also, as a whole university, in the top 20 in the UK as well. So this gives you an introduction to what our entry requirements are at the University of Dundee. Now, I understand I've only included the Ontario School Diploma. I do apologise if anyone is attending from British Columbia or Saskatchewan or anywhere else. If you do want to know any of those entry requirements, please do feel free to give me an email. I can get those over to you. Or otherwise, the KOM consultants, again, can run through these things with you as well. So if you're setting the Ontario Diploma in Dundee, we are looking for 90% overall, with at least 90% in chemistry and 1 other science. Evidence of biology, understandably, is also required. So preferably, we're looking for biology in your grade 12 exams. If you're setting the IB, we're looking for 37 points, with 666 at higher level to include chemistry. Again, having biology isn't necessarily at least standard level and above. And we do accept combinations. Now, I realise when you're applying from Canada to the UK, it can be quite confusing, because when you look at our websites, you'll see we list these separately. And I understand that many of you will maybe be setting the Ontario Diploma alongside components of the IB. That is absolutely fine. And there will be combinations that universities can accept. The difficult part was that it's hard for us to give a definite answer on what our potential offer is going to be when you apply. It may be that we offer, part of that on the Ontario Diploma and a part of that on the IB. You can apply with both, you can apply with either. Totally up to you. Both will be accepted at almost all UK universities. So don't worry, many universities in the UK have many Canadian applicants every single year. So this is how we select at the University of Dundee. And again, it gives you kind of an idea of what it's like to apply for medicine or dentistry. So first of all, we look at your grades. That is one of the most important things to us. And we give that a 60% weighting. So we'll point score your grades, whether it be the OSSD or the IB. 40% of your score will be the UCAT test. So again, we do weight this quite highly. What this means is we have no cutoff for the UCAT score. So obviously, if your grades are absolutely phenomenal, and then you have a UCAT score that's perhaps slightly below our average, that is still going to be a strong application because you have those phenomenal grades. If you have the minimum entry requirements for medicine, but you have an amazing UCAT score, again, that is going to be a great application. So don't let anything deter you applying. As long as you are confident in your UCAT score and confident that your grades meet our minimum entry requirements, it's always worth an application. In Dundee, we actually don't really take into account your personal statement at that first point of application. We will look for evidence of work experience, but the most important thing for us at that first point of application is your grades and your UCAT score. The main point at which we will use your personal statement will be, as I say, looking for that work experience, which is essential at that first point. But really, that is how we will shape our interview for you. So our questions in the interview may be related to your personal statement, which we will read back to front, and we will expect you to know back to front as well. So we may try and catch you out on your personal statement. At this point, Captain Obvious, don't lie. It's never worth it on your personal statement. Please don't exaggerate your work experience. People do get caught out, and it's really not worth jeopardizing your medicine or dentistry application at that point. So in Dundee, when I mentioned the competitiveness at the start, there's something to think about is that at the first point of application, we will take the top around 2/3 of our applicants forward to an interview. So this year alone, we interviewed, I think, around 800 to 900 of our applicants. At that point, once you get an interview, you've actually got around a 50% chance of being made an offer. So although it sounds scary at the start, please remember those and never let things like that put you off applying for medicine and dentistry, particularly when you are applying for perhaps 4 medical or dental schools in the UK as well. I'm sure you'll be an absolutely fantastic candidate. So like I say, the top candidates from the first phase are moved forward to interview. Your slate is wiped clean at that point. So even if you have just scraped in at the 900th place, doesn't matter. Everyone in that interview is assessed the same. So it is your chance then to impress us in that interview. And then the top candidates are then made an offer. That's just a picture of our medical school from the outside. You'll see the sun is shining. That is because Dundee is Scotland's sunniest city. Some people think that it's maybe not that hard in Scotland, but Dundee is noticeably a very sunny place to be. That's the inside. So we've recently invested over £10 million into our medical school. So it really is a brand new facility that we have there. So you'll see the lecture theatre, and you'll see the way it's laid out is kind of conducive to that social experience that you should have in Dundee as well. So in Dundee, first to third year, it has that practical element, like I say, but we do introduce you to the basics. So that is when you will be in the morgue, you'll be doing that full body human dissection. You will have that practical experience and underpinning of knowledge to prepare you for those last 2 years, which are fully clinical. So clinical throughout the 5 years, but those last 2 years are what we are preparing you for, because that is the clinical years of the course. We do have things called student selected components, and we have one of the largest selections of student selected components out of any university in the UK. Now, these are things which mean you can start studying something that you are interested in quite early on. So if you are interested in pediatrics, if you're interested in surgery, you can start doing independent-based research that counts towards your course, but it means that you are obviously studying things that really interest you, and that is really important to us as well. In Dundee, we were University of the Year in the UK last year for student experience, and things like that are why we really do try and make that student experience as enjoyable as possible for you. Now, I'm not going to spend that long on this slide. If you are looking to practice dentistry in Canada as a UK graduate, there is quite a lengthy process for you to undertake. So I've highlighted this purely for reference. You are looking at the green bar at the top, and anything under that is what you will need to undertake, but it can take a number of years to accredit yourself to become a practicing dentist in Canada. Normally, I would say for those looking to come to the UK to study dentistry, really the best outcome is that you are staying in the UK and you are practicing dentistry in the UK. That means you can start practicing as a dentist as soon as you graduate. Like I say, there is a process for going back to Canada to practice as a dentist. Most graduates from Canada that come to the UK look to stay in the UK because the process is there, and it is quite seamless, obviously, to start working as a dentist as in the UK. Medicine is slightly easier. So if you come to somewhere like the University of Dundee, we are a recognised medical school. So if you're looking to move back to Canada and practice as a doctor, there is obviously a system for you to become accredited with whatever state you decide to practice in as a doctor. Slightly less confusing than dentistry, but do your research as well. So if you are looking to study practice in Canada as either a doctor or a dentist, do have a look at what the process is for you, wherever you want to stay once you go back to Canada. Make sure it's going to be worth it for you, because it is a lengthy degree. It's 5 to 6 years. It's going to be a little bit longer than if you are looking to work back in Canada. So have a look at that. Make sure that coming to the UK is right for you. Obviously, I'm biased, and I think it's absolutely right for everyone. It's an amazing place to study, and there's loads of amazing places that you can go to in the UK and also Europe, obviously. But do have a look and make sure that it's the right choice for you. So if you're unsuccessful, first of all, find out why. You can request feedback from interviews. You can request feedback from your application. What I would say is your fifth choice. So like I say, you have 5 UCAS choices. 4 of those can be for medicine or dentistry. The reason that UCAS ask for your 5th choice to be something else is because medicine and dentistry are competitive. Normally, we recommend that your 5th choice is going to be something maybe within a related field. So in Dundee, we have a fantastic life sciences department. So we are a very popular choice normally for that 5th choice as well. So at the moment, we're 3rd in the UK for things like biological sciences behind Oxford and Cambridge. So that would be things like pharmacology, drug discovery, molecular science, molecular biology. So you may choose that as your 5th choice. So if you do not receive an offer from your 4 medical or dental school choices, it's likely you will receive an offer for your 5th choice, because your grades would be expected to be excellent at that point. So it is worth considering, what is your 5th choice going to be if the UK is somewhere that you want to come and study. So looking forward, make sure you do your research. One of the best things about being in the virtual world now, one of the only good things about being in the virtual world, is the resources that are going to be available for you. So do have a look at university campus tours. We have some excellent ones at the University of Dundee, but there really is loads of great medical and dental schools you can go to around the UK. So make sure you're finding the one that's best for you. And think about open days as well. So we have our open day on Friday, the 11th of June for medicine, and our other open days are on the 30th of August and 25th of September. And medicine and dentistry will be included in them as well. So that will be a talk from a medical lecturer, a dental lecturer, that can really give you an in-depth view into what those subjects are like here in Dundee. I've really only scratched the surface. These are my details. So that big thing in the corner, that is not what the sun looks like in Dundee. That is a QR code that you can scan, and it will enter my details into your phone. So if you would like to WhatsApp me with any questions, if it's easier to WhatsApp, email, please do get in touch. Happy to answer any questions specifically about Dundee. But like I say, this is obviously in partnership with KOM Consulting. So they will be able to really guide you through it. I would say that it's a lot of help when you're applying as an international student. Like I say, there are certain processes you'll need to go to, particularly when it comes to maybe you've been successful in getting a place. So you're going to have to start that visa application. So there's going to be quite a few steps you need to go through to obviously get to that point of coming to Dundee or going to Glasgow or going to Queen Mary, London. And KOM Consultants can obviously provide that bridging gap for you and provide that advice throughout that way. So that's their details there that they can help with. So that is the end of my presentation. If you're still with me, we've not lost anyone, which is a good sign. Thank you so much for your time this evening. I realise some of you may want to go off and have dinner now, so please feel free to log off if you don't have any questions. But if you do have any questions, and now is a great time to ask. So hopefully you found the Q&A. So I'll leave this open for now for a couple of minutes, just in case there's any questions to come into the Q&A. And just to repeat again, this has been recorded, so you can watch this back, and we'll send it across to you in the next few days. Can a student with part of a complete undergrad study apply? Generally, certainly in Dundee's case, we would ask you to complete your undergraduate studies. We don't necessarily disadvantage the student, but we wouldn't really consider their undergraduate degree at all. At that point, we will really just consider the high school diploma or IB or whatever your school grades were. We wouldn't value that undergraduate part study in the application process. Really, at that point, depending how far a student has gone within that, we would normally say it's worth just completing that undergraduate study and then going on to apply as a graduate. So in Dundee, we do have avenues for both medicine and dentistry as a graduate student. So if you've completed your undergrad, either 3 or 4 years, honours, we would welcome that application. It just reverses slightly, so we would base your application 60% on UCAT and then 40% on your academics. Some universities may accept part of a complete undergrad study, so that's obviously quite a maybe institution-specific question. So if that was the case, it's definitely worth asking around different universities. So in our case, no, there would be absolutely no credit we would assign to any of their university study, unfortunately. I think the best relevance would be in their personal statement. So if it was maybe a biology or a chemistry degree they're undertaking, you know, in their personal statement when it comes to interviews, there's obviously a lot of really useful information they'll have that could be useful for that practical application into medicine or dentistry. But I did check with our admissions quite recently, and unfortunately we would just be making an offer and making that application consideration based on their high school studies. Again, it could differ by university. Does anyone else have any questions? Again, happy to answer any questions about the UCAS process, or personal statements, or any Dundee specific questions. So interviews were virtual last year. Are they going to be virtual this year? That's not been confirmed yet. So obviously interviews will tend to take place in December to February every year. For international students, I would say almost certainly. I'm obviously adding that caveat just in case something else happens. I'm saying almost certainly they're going to be virtual for international students, especially in this climate. No matter how much things improve by December, January, February, I think it's very unlikely that we would ask any international students to travel just for an interview. So it's very, very likely that they're going to be virtual again this year. But I'm going to give myself that get out clause just in case things change by December or January. But very, very likely, I would say that that's going to be virtual. And there's loads of great tools online now for you to access, because obviously a lot of people have undertaken virtual interviews by now for medicine and dentistry. So if that does happen, you're going to be in a better position, certainly, than students were this year who are maybe sitting virtual interviews for the first time. Great question. So what is accommodation options? So accommodation is slightly different in the UK to what you might be used to, particularly if you're looking at US colleges as well. So almost all accommodation in the UK is going to be single occupancy. So it's very rare you'd look at a university that might have shared residency. So in Dundee, as an example, all of our accommodation, you're guaranteed your own bedroom. In Dundee as well, you're absolutely guaranteed your own bathroom in university accommodation. I cannot tell you how big a bonus this is. Again, obviously I'm very biased. I went to Dundee myself. I'm actually from Glasgow and came to the University of Dundee to study geography. I would say a reason I went to Dundee genuinely was because the accommodation looked so good and I was guaranteed like a bathroom and my own bedroom. So in Dundee, you'll share with normally 5 people in a flat or an apartment. So your kitchen facilities are shared and your living space is shared. But, you know, as an international student, that's fantastic. So it means from that first night, you kind of generally do have 5 friends and 5 new family members. And it's really important for you, I think, as well, just to have people to speak to in that first night. Even coming from Glasgow, which is only an hour and a half away, and moving to Dundee, I found that so useful. In Scotland, a lot of people are 17 when they go to university. That's another common question. So most medical and dental schools in the UK will accept 17-year-olds, because in Scotland, many people will leave school when they're 17. So I was 17 when I went to university. So again, that option's there. But accommodation, certainly in Dundee, is very good. It is self-catered though, so we offer no catered accommodation. So if you don't know how to cook and you look to come to the University of Dundee, you can have pasta or beans on toast for a whole year. It does become a bit tiring after a few months, so do learn a few basic meals, I think, if you choose to come to Dundee. What is the tuition for medicine or dentistry programs? So this will vary by university. Generally, medicine or dentistry programs will be between £40,000 and £50,000 per year. So again, this can depend on university. You might see that for dentistry in particular, you might find that some courses are maybe £36,000 for the first 2 years, and then for the last 3 years, it is £46,000, and that is because of a levy introduced in Scotland, the Scottish Government, for clinical work. In Dundee, because our courses are so clinical heavy, that levy is introduced from the first year. So in Dundee, the courses will tend to be between £46,000 to £49,000 per year. My conversion, again, it's not good enough. Put that into Canadian dollars. Again, have a look at what funding might be available for you. There is funding options for you as a Canadian student if you are coming to the UK. But again, this is where it's really useful for someone like KOM Consultants who can guide you through what these processes might be. There might also be some scholarship opportunities at some UK universities as well that might be worth looking into. Yeah, so just covered that there. So scholarships. In Dundee, unfortunately, we only offer one international scholarship per each year for medicine and dentistry. So we offer one international scholarship for dentistry and one international scholarship for medicine. So you do have a 1 in 13 choice of being awarded a £5,000 discount of fees per year. So 1 in 13, not the worst in the world. But because we're so competitive for these subjects, unfortunately, our scholarship offering isn't fantastic in Dundee for these courses. But for other courses, it's certainly a little bit more generous, and other universities may have slightly more generous scholarship offerings than we might. So hopefully this was useful for you. So if you have attended this evening, thank you very much for your time. It really is much appreciated. If you're watching this as a recording, I really hope this was useful for you. Hopefully you're able to take a note of all the contact details that you need following this this session. Like I say, so my email address is g.h.smith@dundee.ac.uk. For KOM Consultants, it's info@komconsultants.com. So thank you again for attending this session. Have a lovely evening, and hopefully hear from you soon. Thank you very much.